Welcome everyone. My name is Patricia Honvari. I'm from Hungary, presenting now the Széchenyi István University as a project manager. And I was asked to talk to you about our project, our REGINA project. That's still not something that we have decided. It's REGINA or REGINA. And I was thinking that before, I was jumping into the presentation of the project and project results and achievements and further things to do, I was thinking of maybe highlighting some key points or key issues or dilemmas, if you like, that we also came across during the last two and a half years while developing this project. So this is what I decided to do, to highlight some topics or dilemmas. So the first dilemma that we came across was actually very simple. What is regenerative agriculture? Because even though most of us, well, not myself particularly, I'm more related into rural development and sustainable development, not really into agriculture, but some of the project partners are really experts on this. But we still sat around the table and tried to talk about it. What is regenerative agriculture? And the main issue, actually, what we faced is how to find a connection between regenerative and sustainable. Are they the same, or is there any difference between it? And we sat around the table talking about regenerative agriculture. We all agreed that it is somehow an alternative sustainable farming concept. It should be. And we all agree that, of course, there is an evident need to boost the efficient use of resources, to somehow restore biodiversity, to reduce pollution, and that the current agricultural practices should be or must be transformed. We all agreed on that. But still, when we talk about sustainable agriculture, there are, a lot of alternative methods, different methods, but we all know organic, low input, free range, biodynamic, integrated, holistic, and so on and so forth. So when we first sat together, we were thinking, do we miss the point? What's the point of bringing in another term called regenerative agriculture, which is not bringing anything more than the previous concepts? And then, my point here is that I think we should think about it as regenerative above sustainable. And we can clearly come to this conclusion by analyzing the meaning of the word. It's simple. The word sustainable strictly means self-sustaining. It means that it maintains what already exists, but does not restore ecosystems that have been lost. On the other hand, the word regenerative means that it's the capacity to bring into existence again. So critically, regenerative agriculture is not only sustainable in the terms that it maintains or does not harm to the existing soil, but further enhances its quality. It's regenerating soil. And I would like to also introduce to a quote that's coming from Christopher Roth. And I think this is very good because it contains the essence of regenerative practices. All sustainable solutions are unsustainable over the longer term if they are not also regenerative. So this is the main point that we try to, focus on. Of course, we also found out that it's both an old and a new concept. It's old in the terms that it was first mentioned in the 1970s, but then disappeared since then. And in the last couple of years, decades, again, it became prioritized. And it's old in the sense that some of the practices that it uses is not something very new, very innovative that you have never heard of. But it's new because actually what we found out that people, stakeholders, farmers don't really know the concept itself or the term. So what we can say is that regenerative agriculture requires a holistic system approach. That's very important, aiming not just to reduce the negative environmental impact, but also to have a positive impact on the environment. Here you can see a couple of examples of the practices that it uses. And all of these practices have basically two main aims. One is to restore the soil health, and the other is to enhance biodiversity in agriculture lands. So we can say that this concept can offer substantial results, but despite the good things that it can offer, still the adoption of regenerative agriculture is slowly spreading across Europe. And that brings us to the second dilemma. That is, what are the obstacles behind the slow adoption? I could also say, how is the recognition of regenerative agriculture? Because that would be another problem. And well, one of the first results of the project that we were running is that we have conducted a transnational research in 5 countries, focusing on the uptake and future prospects of regenerative agriculture. We have done a desk study, we have conducted stakeholder interviews, case study analysis, and we also done a questionnaire survey with the involvement of more than 500 farmers in 5 countries. And one of the questions was focusing on how well they know different terms and practices. And here I would like just to show you some results. You can also take some guesses. How many % of the responding farmers stated that they have never heard of the following terms? And here I'm just highlighting 3: organic farming, conservation agriculture, and regenerative agriculture. You can take your guesses right now. Well, for organic farming, I think, yeah, it's very low. It was around 1% who said that they'd never heard of organic farming. For conservation agriculture, that was 4%. Meaning that somehow conservation agriculture is more related into the thinking of farmers. Regenerative agriculture, that was 27% who has stated that never heard of regenerative agriculture, and that is probably one of the reasons why it's spreading slowly. The second thing that I would like to show you, we have also asked them how many % of the responding farmers stated that the followings are the main obstacles for taking up regenerative agriculture. And here you have financial uncertainty regarding the short-term future, lack of financial support from the state, or the lack of know-how. And you can also take some guesses which were on place number 1. Well, on place number 1, it was the financial uncertainty regarding the short-term future. So there is, you know, a kind of fear of what's going to happen if I move to these processes. Nevertheless, lack of know-how was there right behind the financial uncertainty. And I think it's a kind of surprising, but the lack of financial support was a little bit behind, with 87% stated that it could be also a problem. And last but not least, some responding farmers also stated that they would not want to take up regenerative practices ever. And what do you think was the main reason behind this decision? Here I'm going to show you average percentages. So why do they not want to take up regenerative practices? It's because of economic barriers, it's because of the missing knowledge gaps, or is it because lack of interest? Well, again, if you have guessed that it's going to be economic barriers, that's the right guess, because more than 60% stated that I don't want to take up regenerative practices because of economic practices. I'm afraid that's not going to bring me the yields that I want to. Also knowledge gaps with 20%, and a lack of interest with 17%. So what we came to as a conclusion from all this, of course it was a much broader survey, but I'm just highlighting some aspects, that actually the knowledge gap that exists there regarding regenerative practices hinders the uptaking of regenerative farming practices, but it is because farmers are basically afraid of the financial uncertainty. And if we try to, you know, fit this knowledge gap, we can also help to understand that probably these economic barriers can be, you know, come over. So the third and last issue to highlight, the dilemma number 3, is how can we fight this knowledge gap? And here I can come to our project, REGINA project. I'm not saying that's the only way to do or the most successful way to do, but this is an initiative to do and try to make something to, fight the knowledge gap regarding regenerative agriculture. So our project, well, it has a long name, Regenerative Agriculture, an innovative approach towards mitigation of climate change through multi-tiered learning. What you need to know about it, that it's an Erasmus Plus cooperation partnership project. It's a transnational partnership with 8 partners. Here are the 8 partners. What you can see here is that there are 2 universities, my university, Széchenyi István University in Hungary and the University of Florence in Italy. And then we also have 2 secondary schools, one secondary school in Postojna, Slovenia, and one secondary school in Hungary. And then we also have farmers associations and kind of organizations that work as a network for stakeholders, farmers. And here we can also mention CCAT, of course, from Ireland, Eurocademy Association from Greece, the County Association of Farmers from Hungary, and the Slovenian Association for Conservation Agriculture in Slovenia. So that's quite a mix of partners, we have to say. And the building blocks of our project is regenerative agriculture, of course, but also we want to focus on education and knowledge and exchange of good practices. So as for education, this is an Erasmus project. You need to know that the main focus of this is higher education and higher education students, students of agronomy, agroforestry, and well, the main idea is that if they learn about it, they can lead as professionals the efforts towards mitigating climate change. But on the other hand, we just don't want to think about higher education students, but we also want to think about farmers, because they should also be helped through non-formal or informal learning or discussions like this, simple as that. So probably to help them to understand if they can, and if they can, how can they change their farming methods. And one way, and we believe in that, is that knowledge and exchange of good practices can really help with that. So the overall aim is to create a learning material. We are in the middle of creating the learning material in the form of courses at university level, but we want to create a learning material that is adaptable to secondary education and adaptable to adult education, what we say, to use by farmers or farmers advisors or different other stakeholders. And the crucial aspect in our project is the involvement of stakeholders into the learning process itself, so that we can create links between the local communities. That's also a very important aspect. So besides creating the learning material and besides putting a focus on exchange of good practices, we also, of course, want to promote the principles and practices of regenerative agriculture. We have done a research on the existing good practices of RA, try to identify problems and attitudes regarding RA. We have created a methodology and an educational contact that is going to be pilot tested in higher education, and then it's going to be adapted to secondary education and adult learning, and it's going to be also pilot tested. And we also want to make use of different digital open learning environments, and we're going to create a so-called REGINA platform that will accommodate all of our learning resources, and it's going to be freely available to anyone. So just a couple of words about our achievements so far. Well, our first project result was to build the library of good practice in regenerative agriculture. That has been finished. Partners in 5 countries have conducted a national survey, and then we have collected a so-called library of good practices. That's including past practices in the participating countries. And then we are focusing now on the learning methodology and tools and the learning modules, and pilot testing the methodology. And we have also started to creating the REGINA platform that I was talking about. That's going to be an online interactive platform. So the current and future focus is now we are in the finalization of the learning modules and the REGINA platform itself. We really hope it's going to be available in the next month or so. We are pilot test the learning content at 2 locations, at 2 universities, at Széchenyi István University in Hungary and in Florence in Italy. And there is an adaptation of the learning modules and contents for secondary education and for adult education. And our last result is going to be to create a guidebook on regenerative agricultural learning. So just a couple of words about dissemination events. We are planning national dissemination workshops, the one that we are sitting here in Ireland, but it's going to happen also in 4 more countries. We're going to have a similar workshop in Slovenia, in Italy, in Hungary, and in Greece as well. It's all going to happen during this spring, bringing together stakeholders to, talk about regenerative agriculture. Then we also going to plan an international webinar, which is going to be an online event, an online conference, and there we're going to present the results of the project and also to discuss the usability of the REGINA platform. And last but not least, we're going to have a final conference. It's going to be the closing event in the international conference of REGINA. That's going to be organized in Hungary, in my hometown. And of course, to all of these events, those who are sitting here are very, very welcome. And I think Sigrid can provide you more information with that when we get closer there. So thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, we can catch up later. Thanks very much.